Hi again. Happy Wednesday. Today's chapter is chapter 27, tight ropes and hula hoops. And if you remember correctly, at the last chapter, she um, fell off the ropes and kind of like played it off as like she was like doing the demonstration for him when actually she really did fall. And now she's saying she's like on her way to the rock wall of doom. And if you remember correctly, she's there by herself because her mom had to go to the doctors and she didn't want to interrupt that. So that's kind of where we're at in this storyline right now. You want to go next? Jason looked at Ava. She looked up the rock wall and caught a glimpse of the bottom of Luke Varnway's sneakers before he pulled himself up onto the platform. No, not even a little. I'll go, Lucy Ann Ward clipped her safety lines and started climbing. Very slowly, Ava noticed. That was good. Lucy Ann wasn't all that athletic. She was short and what Graham would call pleasantly plump. When their class ran a mile on the track, Lucy Ann was the last person to finish, but the only one still smiling at the end. Oh, I like that. Whoop! Lucy Ann's foot slipped off a rock and she thumped into the wall with her harness. Wow, this is kind of hard, she said, and started pulling herself up again. Jason scuffed the dirt with his sneakers and turned to Ava. So, what's up with Sophia? What do you mean, what's up? Well, you guys are kind of friends, right? Yeah. Jason didn't need to know that Sophia hadn't spoken to her since she threw herself at Jason because of the pencil. Do you know if she still likes me? Ava stared at him. Boys really must be from another planet where all the rules were totally different. Aren't you going out with Jessica? He shrugged. She broke up with me. Keep the line moving, one of the guides called from the walkway. I'll go next, Ava said, clipping herself onto the safety hooks. Even the rock wall of doom was better than talking to Jason about Sophia. Don't look down. Honey, shh. Don't look down, Ava thought as she climbed. Great job, a voice called from below, and Ava looked down. Stupid, to cute Tom giving her a thumbs up. His thumb looked tiny. In fact, his whole body looked tiny. He was a long way down there. She was already pretty far up. Keep coming. Ava turned back to the wall and saw Lucy Ann leaning over to look down at her. It's easier at the top, Lucy Ann said. The rocks get closer together. She pointed at Ava, and Ava saw she was right. It was doable, as long as she kept breathing. But that was turning into a challenge. You can do it. And it's really pretty up here, Lucy Ann added. Ava glanced down again. Jason had already started climbing up behind her, so at this point, climbing down would mean climbing right onto his head, and that wasn't an option either. Hand, hand, foot, foot. Ava made her whole body listen, and after what felt like an hour of clipping and unclipping her safety line, she crawled onto the wooden platform and stood up. Her heart was pounding, but she was here. Lucy Ann smiled at her, all red-faced and sweaty. The first challenge is a tightrope, like the one that Wallen guy, I think that's his name, crossed over the Grand Old Canyon. I think that's supposed to say Grand Canyon. Only you know this one's 20 feet up instead of a zillion. Plus, we have harnesses. That is a very good thing, Ava said. She watched Lou walk across the tightrope. It wasn't that different from the practice line she crossed. This one was actually bouncing a little less. It led to a platform near the top of another tree. I'm pretty sure the next platform leads to a rope ladder, and my cousin, whose class came last week, says then there are hula hoops you have to climb through. I'm pretty sure the next platform leads to a rope ladder, and my cousin, whose class came, oh, I'm sorry, I just read that. Wait, Ava stared as Luke inched his way toward the platform at the other end of the tightrope. I thought it was just one challenge at a time. Can't we go down in between? Nope. It's one after another. Lucienne stepped out onto the tightrope as Jason hoisted himself onto the platform next to Ava. So, he said, did she say anything to you? Who? Ava said, even though she knew he meant Sophia. You can go on, Cute Tom yelled from the ground, motioning for Ava to start on the tightrope. She's not done, Ava called down. That's okay, Cute Tom said, motioning her out again. The bridge-type challenge can take several people at a time. Go ahead. So Ava clipped herself in, reached up to the safety line to steady herself, and took a tiny step out. At least it was a tiny step away from Jason and his questions. If she slid her hand forward on the safety line over her head, she never really had to let go, and somehow that made the narrow, wobbly cable under her feet less awful. Hands forward, baby steps. Hands forward, baby step. She was doing okay until the tightrope dipped under her feet. Whoa! Ava gripped the safety line and held on for dear life while the cable bounced under her. Sorry, Jason called from the edge of the platform. Can you wait until I'm done, please? If he didn't stop bouncing the cable all over, Ava was sure she'd throw up, and that was going to make holding onto the line and keeping her balance a million times harder. Keep going, you're okay, Cute Tom's voice drifted up to her, and Ava looked down. She was right below her, nodding encouragingly and completely unaware that he was quite possibly about to be puked on. Ava peered over her shoulder at Jason. Just give me a few steps, all right, she whispered. He nodded and thankfully stayed still until she had hands forward baby stepped herself all the way to the next platform. Ava let out a great rush of breath. You made it. Lucienne had dark spots of sweat on her t-shirt, but her eyes were full of can't wait excitement. And look what's next. Hula hoops. The hula hoops were next. It was a tightrope, like the last one, only in the middle of it, every few feet, was a hula hoop that you had to climb through in order to keep going. Isn't this the best? Lucienne said, clipping herself onto the safety line. Ava didn't answer. She wondered what kind of a horrible person had thought this was a good idea. Graham prayed for almost everybody while she watched CNN, but she always said there was a special hot place in the afterlife for certain kinds of criminals. Ava decided adventure courses designers should be added to the list and have a special place there too. Preferably one where they had to climb through flaming hula hoops on a tightrope, blindfolded. They're going to let us keep going, Jason said, nodding towards the tightrope. Lucienne was halfway through the first hula hoop, perched on it, with one leg on each side, and as if she were riding a horse and laughing as it bucked beneath her. Why don't you go ahead, and I'll wait until you're almost done before I start, okay? Ava nodded. It helped a little knowing that the tightrope wasn't going to start bouncing under her feet right away. She was taller than Lucienne, so she managed to baby step up to the first hula hoop, hold the safety line, and carefully step through it, one quiet, unbouncy foot at a time, to the other side. She did that again and again, and it took a while, but she made it across. Lucienne had already set off on the next challenge, a swinging bridge with planks that go farther and farther apart the closer you go to the end. Lucienne had to jump from plank to plank for the last few steps. Woohoo! She called from the next platform. That was a doozy. A doozy? Just great, Ava thought, as she took the first step. It started off better than the tightropes at least, but after the first dozen steps or so, there was no more baby stepping on the bridge. The planks were far enough apart that Ava had to take big, open steps. She tried to land in the middle of each plank so it wouldn't wobble, but once she put her foot down too far to the right and the whole bridge tipped. She tightened her hand around the safety cable over her head and pulled herself up back to the center, then waited, taking shaky breaths until the bridge stopped tipping and her heart stopped trying to burst out of her body. The last 2 steps were terrifying. Ava didn't have to jump like Lucy Ann, but she did have to take such big steps that she panicked and lost her balance and had to pull herself up by the safety line. She stood there, legs spread in half, split high up in the air until the bridge stopped swinging and she could make herself step forward again. "Great job," Lucy Ann said, grinning. "All clear," Luke shouted from the other end of the next crossing. "Bye," Lucy Ann called and jumped off the platform. Ava almost screamed until she realized it was one of the long zip lines. Lucy Ann had already attached her pulley thing and clipped her safety lines. Now she was flying through the trees, whooping her way to the next platform where a thick mat wrapped around a tree waited for her. "All clear," Lucy Ann hollered and waved at Ava. Ava looked down at the pulley thing attached to her belt. She'd been listening when Cute Tom told everybody how to use it. She really had. But what if she did it wrong? How smart was it, really, to send a bunch of kids up in trees to attach their own safety stuff when they could die if they did it wrong? This is exactly the kind of thing you'd expect from a person who thought it was a good idea to put a hula hoop on a tightrope. "Remember how to do it?" Jason asked her. "I think so." Ava attached her first safety line. She unclipped her pulley from the belt, clicked it into place on the wire, and attached her second line to the pulley. "Looks good," Cute Tom called from below. At least the guides were paying attention. "Ready?" Jason said. "This one looks like a blast." "I'm going to hang from this cable and fly through the trees," Ava thought. It did not sound like a blast, but kids from the next group were already starting to arrive on their platform. "Dude, are you going to go or what?" Brett Holloway asked. "I'm going," Ava said, but then she didn't. She looked down at her feet on the wooden board of the platform. Lucy Ann had simply jumped. She tucked her feet up, let her weight fall into the harness, and let it carry her through the trees. Ava understood that was what she needed to do, but she couldn't make herself do it. "You've got 2 lines to catch you," Jason told her, and as if she didn't know that. She clipped them herself. She checked them 3 times. "I know I'm going." Ava swallowed hard. Her throat felt like tree bark. "You're thinking about it too much," Jason said. "Just go." Fine, Ava thought. "I'll just go." But she didn't. "Come on." Brett gave an impatient sigh. "Dude, give her a minute," Jason told Brett. Ava appreciated that, but she knew she couldn't wait forever. She held the handles at the bottom of the pulley. That's what Cute Tom said to do so your fingers didn't get caught in anything, and leaned back so it could catch her weight. It held her. It did. It felt strong. "Just go," she thought. "Don't think, just go. Go." Ava sucked in her breath, grimaced, and jumped. It was fast, faster than she thought. The pulley made a high-pitched whirring, zinging noise as she flew over the cable, and the wind cooled Ava's hot face. She did not feel like Peter Pan, but she was mostly doing okay until she realized she had to land on the other platform. What if she crashed into the tree? How thick was the mat? What if she didn't make it all the way there? She'd be stuck dangling out over the middle. But before there was more time to worry, the tree came close and Ava lifted her feet and plopped them onto the platform and grabbed the safety line to pull herself up. "You did it! You finished the gold course!" Lucy Ann was waiting at the bottom of the platform. The zip line had taken them lower, So they were just a few ladder rungs to the ground. Dirt and pine needles had never felt so good under Ava's shoes. Silver is next, Lucy Ann said, pointing to another rock wall, higher than the first one. That was all part of the first course. All those things we just did. Lucy Ann nodded. Isn't this the best? Ava stared at the new rock wall. Just because she'd survived the gold course didn't mean she'd survived silver or whatever awful color was next. 5 courses. There were 5 courses, and she'd only done 1. Ava looked back toward the reception area and saw Mr. Avery sitting at the picnic table next to a couple of kids. Lucy Ann followed her gaze. Looks like Leo and Alex decided to call it quits after gold. Ava's heart jumped. She could do that too. She could be done. She looked at Lucy Ann. I think I'm going to call it a day too. Really? Lucy Ann's mouth dropped open. She looked back up at Luke and Jason climbing down the ladder. Luke burped and Jason cracked up. Come on, you can't leave me with these boys. Ava looked at the picnic table. Amy and Ben looked kind of bored, but they looked safe. Safe was good. Sorry, this isn't really my thing. But you did so great on the first one. Yeah, but it took me forever to cross that stuff. As soon as Ava said that, she realized she had no idea how long it had taken. It felt like forever, but when she looked at her watch, it was only 11:30. 11:30. Mom's appointment was in an hour and a half. Ava wondered if Mom was worried. Probably not. It was just a regular exam, something she did every year. But this one was going to be different. Ava's throat tightened and she felt her breath come quicker. She looked back at the gold course. It had scared her, but not like this. The adventure course made her a different kind of scared. A wobbly tightrope, heart in your throat, blood pumping, fresh air, and smell of leaves scared. This Mom worrying scared. Ava took a shaky breath. This kind of scared was so big it felt like it might suffocate her if she sat down at the picnic table and let it catch up with her. If she kept going, it couldn't do that. She'd be scared of swinging logs and tightropes instead. And by the time it was over, her Mom's appointment would be done, and the pencil would have been wrong. And she wouldn't have cancer after all. Not if Ava finished the course. Okay, Ava said, let's do silver. And the next chapter is chapter 28, Pencil Fail. So I would read this chapter, but it's this one was so long, and so I'm not sure how it's going to upload. So I will try to maybe read it later, and if not, tomorrow. So bye, guys.